Many species of trees, when they are really young, have a smooth, thin bark. And this smooth, thin bark is very susceptible to the low winter sun and damage through the winter months. What can happen is that low winter sun reaches down through the trunk of the tree to the trunk of the tree. It can cause sunburn, which can actually damage the cells of the bark, or it can cause freeze damage. And what happens is during the winter months, the cells on the bark will go dormant. But that low angled sun during the middle of the day will beat down on that trunk on the southwest side of the trunk, deacclimate those cells. They'll start to expand, sap will start flowing through, and then it freezes again at night and causes those cells to burst. And thus we end up with a lot of cracking. And this is really detrimental to the tree. It can cause some severe damage to young trees. So one way to protect this tree is by using a commercial wrapping material. I have one here. This is a very common material. It's just a paper wrap. And what we do is we'll start down at the base of the tree. Tear that off there. And we'll put one layer around. And then we'll start going up the tree. We want it to be somewhat loose. We don't want it to be real tight, but we want to create a shingle effect. So you're going to be overlapping as you go up the tree, so that as the water, rain or snow falls, it will shed off of the wrap and not get caught in between it. And we're going to do this all the way up the trunk until we get to the first branches at the top. And then we will use something like tape. We can use masking tape, or any kind of tape would work fine in taping that off. I'm going to go ahead and completely wrap this tree because it does need some protection. As you can see, it has had some damage in the past. Okay, so here's our finished product. And we're going to leave this on the tree through the winter months and not take it off until just before the trunk starts growing in girth, as this, the sap starts flowing again. And we don't want to leave it on much longer than that because it's wrapped and tied off. If we leave it on too long, it can actually constrict the trunk as it begins to expand in the springtime. We don't want that to happen. So we'll remove this at the end of the winter. Now let me show you another type of wrap that you can use. Here's another little young tree that you might think needs to be wrapped, but one point I want to make is you don't have to wrap every single tree that you plant, only if it's a really thin, smooth bark and it's exposed to that winter sun. This is actually a little dogwood, and the bark is actually kind of rough, and it's in a very protected area. It's in the shade of some trees, and there's other trees in the background. They're going to protect it from that late winter sun. The other thing I like about this little tree is it has little twigs still growing, little sprouts or shoots growing on the trunk of the tree. And when you first plant a tree, it's probably a good idea to leave these little twigs on the trunk for a couple of years to help provide that shade against the trunk and the bark. So if this was growing in full sun, I would leave those little twigs on there for a couple of years to help provide that protection. But the other material I wanted to show you is this plastic wrap. And this is an excellent material too. It's very easy to apply. It's long lasting. The paper wrap that we showed you, usually if you get one season out of it, that's pretty good. But this one you can use for several years. So you can take it on and off easily. It is one that, again, is you start at the bottom and just start wrapping it around. So if this tree were out in full sun, we could use this little wrap right here. It goes on real quickly, really easily. And again, we want to go up to the first branches of the tree. And you can see it's loose. It has holes perforated in the plastic. And this allows good air circulation between the wrap and the trunk as well, to help keep the trunk dry and maybe discourage insects or diseases. The other nice thing about this is it provides a little protection to this trunk from maybe rabbits or mice or something that might want to nibble on the bark during the winter months. And in some cases, it can even help protect the trunk to a certain degree against lawnmowers and weed eaters, mostly weed eaters. It's not really designed for that, but it can help protect the trunk a little bit for that purpose.